The title of my message today is, because we've been doing this God is thing, and so it's God is willing. And I thought it's really cool because, you know, He's willing to die on the cross for us, and He's willing to take care of us, He's willing to love us. And so God is willing to heal and help and clean those of us who ask for it. Now, what does that look like? You know, Jesus helped many people. In Luke 8, He helped the lady who's been bleeding for 10 years. In Luke 4, He helped a woman who had like a high fever. And again, in Luke 8, he calmed the seas. And so why did He help these people? So the story I want to focus on today is in Luke 5, and it's Jesus heals the man with leprosy. So I'm going to read it out of my Bible. Who has a hard copy Bible? Okay, so it's Luke 5, 12 to 14. While Jesus was in one of the towns, a man came along who was covered in leprosy. When he saw Jesus, he fell with his face to the ground and begged him, "Lord, if you are willing, can you make me clean?" Jesus then reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." And immediately the leprosy left him. Then Jesus ordered him, "Don't tell anyone, but go and show yourselves to the priests and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing, as a testimony to them." Okay, so this story really shows like God's heart for His people, and I'll dig deeper into that. But so it shows God's heart for His children, and But first, I want to talk a little bit about leprosy because it's a nice topic. So in different parts of the Bible, the man is referred to as a leper. Now, leprosy is a disease that attacks the skin, the mucous membranes, and the nerves, and it's highly contagious, apparently. Now, on top of having this horrible disease, in biblical times, if you had leprosy, you were cast out and you were shunned and you were seen as dead. Society wanted nothing to do with you. And the worst part is they made you wear a bell around your neck. So if they heard you coming, they would separate and move away. And then if you got too close to them, they're supposed to yell out "unclean, unclean" at the top of their lungs, so that you knew that they were there if you didn't hear the bells already. You know the saying, step into their shoes or see things through their point of view, right? So, imagine you were this guy, and he was probably feeling really low and really bad about himself. And he was viewed as dead, and no one wanted to be around him. That'd be pretty sucky. He was probably feeling hopeless and helpless and scared. And he ran around with the risk of making other people sick, which would make you feel terrible if you made somebody else feel what you're feeling. And it's not even itchy, it's just sore. Ugh. Anyway, that's the wrong page. He felt so desperate and so scared that he fell to his knees and he begged Jesus to help him. And literally Jesus just puts out his hand and he says, "I am willing, be clean." And the man came from a place of absolute surrender, and he was on his knees and he was begging, and he was in a place of absolute surrender, an absolute broken place, and Jesus helped him. Now here's the answer to my previous question. Why did He help these people? Everyone in this situation came from a place of surrender. They came from a place of, Jesus, I'm hurt, I'm broken, I need your help, right? And, we can come to Jesus, and we can come to Him in a place, we could be being bullied at school, we can have something wrong with us, we can be sick, we can be hurt, we can be, just having a bad day, and we can come to Jesus and we can say, "Jesus, if you're willing, make this go away," or "If you're willing, heal me," or "If you're willing, make me feel better." And He would just say, "Well, be clean," or "Be healed," or "Feel better." He's there for you, yeah? We all following? You can say yes, that's okay. That's fine. Cool. You know, the significance of this story to us is much of the same of the significance of it back then. Like, although we can't see and we can't touch Jesus, we can still pray to him. We can still feel his presence. We can still talk to him, and prayer is a way of giving Jesus our needs. Instead of going up to him and being like, Jesus, take care of my needs, it's more like, Jesus, I can't see you, I can't touch you, but here are my needs. It's more of a faith and a believe than an actual seeing thing. Yeah. Now, I was reading a story earlier this week, and it's a testimony. This young lady, she got some CDs from Bethel Church, and she was listening to them, and she had a brain tumor, and she was listening to this CD, and there was this young girl who had the same problem as her, and Brian Johnson, the senior pastor of Bethel Church, he was praying for this girl over the CD, and this girl had taken on the prayer that he prayed for another girl into her life in her living room, and the next day the tumor in her head had gone from inside her neck to outside her neck, and then by the time she got to her parents' house that afternoon, the lump had gone. She was completely healed. And she was feeling so broken, and her words were she was feeling inside out. She was just feeling broken and lost and a bit twisted. And on that note, we'll go back to the part where it says, if you are willing. When we'll pray, we should probably pray in Matthew 6, 9-10, it says, I'll get it up, sorry. It says, our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, the kingdom come, your will be done. Your kingdom come, your will be done. You do what you need to do, not you do what I want you to do. You do what you need to do. I think that's something we should really look at when we're praying is I'm not telling Jesus what to do, I'm asking him what he wants to do. Yeah? Cool. It was God's will that the leper was healed. It was God's will that this girl was healed. And if you're praying for something and it doesn't go your way, then that's okay. God doesn't want that for you right now, or maybe he has something better in store for you.
You're doing great.
The New Testament isn't part of this ongoing large story, where Jesus, he helped then, but he still helps now. He may not be here physically, but he still helps now. And God still loves. The whole point of this semester is God loves. You know what? He sent Jesus, and Jesus is willing to die because God loves. Yeah? We, the Christian community is so big on prayer and so big on talking to God. And sometimes we just need to, take a step back and saying, I give God my burdens and I give him my problems, and, do what he is willing to do with them. Yeah? So don't be discouraged. And don't be impatient. I'm very impatient. Good things always come out of, when you ask God for something, good things always come out of it. My personal thing that I don't always do, but I do sometimes, is I write in a journal. I write my prayers down in a journal. And, it's not always visible. When you ask God for something, you're oh, he's not actually doing something, but he's actually doing something. And you can't always see it. And sometimes you forget that you've asked him for something, which is me, because I just ask for everything. And the best thing about the journal is it slows you down, especially if you're living a fast-paced life. It slows you down to spend time with God. And B, you can come back to it a year later, 2 months later, you can actually physically see what God is doing and what prayers have actually been answered, even if you've forgotten that you've asked him that. 1 John 5:14 says, this is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. This is the verse I go by. If I'm confident in what I'm asking and I'm asking him something and if it's in his will, then it'll happen. And even if it's not in his will, he'll do something that'll make his will happen, and you'll see it happen. And then Jeremiah 29:12 says, "And I will listen." He's always listening, he's always there, he's always watching. He's always watching. And he's so protective of you. He's your dad, and he loves you so much. Personally, I struggle from anxiety. This freaks me out. Getting up here and talking in front of all you freaks me out. And I used to be really pretty bad at it. Public speaking was a no-go zone for me. But I just, before I get up and I speak, I go to God and I say, "God, I give it to you." 70% of the time, it works. The other 30%, it's me going, "Here you go. No, actually, I want it back. I'm not going to actually give you all my problems. I'm going to take some back." So it's a really bad habit. And if we want God to do his will, then we have to completely surrender our problems to him. We have to completely give him our burdens. We have to completely give him the bullying. We have to completely give him the hurt and the pain, the sickness. We have to give it to him and not take any back. Yeah? Personally, this passage is saying surrender your burdens to Jesus and he'll help. That's it. That's all this passage is saying. Just give your burdens to Jesus and he'll help. If he is willing and he says, "I am willing, you are clean. I am willing, you are healed. I am willing, I will help you. I am willing," fill in the blank. Yeah? You all following? Cool. It doesn't matter what your situation is, who you are, or what you have done. God loves you and he wants to take care of you. This story has the same meaning and the same relevance that it did when it was created. Yeah? When it happened. Give God your burdens, really, really give them to him. Don't just take it back. Don't just give 70%, give 100%. Don't take 30, it's not good for you. Surrender them 100%. God's love outweighs the problems we have. I'm just going to repeat that because that's important. God's love outweighs the burdens we have. Some of us go through some heavy, heavy stuff, and I understand that. And, I know a lot of you go through a lot of stuff, but God's love for you, God's willingness to take that from you and care for you and be there for you outweighs those burdens.